to grab another guest from, of course, we are networking wealth with the elite in Mayfair, London today. And I have this young man we met whilst kind of sharing a coffee, is where we were downstairs before we come up into the room. And I have the beautiful Jonathan's son. I mean, it's like Jonathan's son, there's such a role to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like Paul's son, nah, it doesn't work. But here's the thing. Why did I want to grab 10 minutes with you? Because we talked downstairs about how you are investing not just your life, but yourself, your monetary life into this business. So let's talk first. Tell me about your business so we can get it out to our viewers, and then we're going to deep dive quickly into that. So what is it you do?
Well, the simplest explanation of what we do is like we like to call ourselves Rich Uncle Tom. So basically, that's essentially, when an entrepreneur first wants to get started, normally they ring Rich Uncle Tom or their dad for the first bit of money.
Or they go to the bank,
or they go to the bank and stuff. But a lot of really talented people don't have Rich Uncle Tom, so we like to consider ourselves a sort of alternative to Rich Uncle Tom.
Wow. Now, what you're basically saying is that when people start a business in the SME world, or even above, whatever that is that you're now building a business or a bridge where you have becoming the person that can offer what is that financial investment that business startup may need in order to get started in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we spoke about it downstairs where this right now is something you are self-funding.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what you're doing there, Jonathan, is you are providing the monetary funds, possibly, and please correct me if I've got the shape of this incorrect.
Of course, yep.
So would it be right to say that you're using your funds, your available funds of
yep.
your personally in life,
yes,
in order to fund what are these investments? And are you doing that in order to build up credibility with angels and things that you are a trusted bridge for their money going to someone in the SME world as a startup or needing funds?
Yeah, because I think what we commonly refer to this occupation is called venture capital, which mm-hmm. means that you are essentially rich people trust you to make returns for them by investing in very, very early innovative companies. Mm-hmm. So we have to prove that we can be trusted. So we have to start off by using some small available funds to, basically, essentially then prove to those that have a little bit more money that, okay, we can be trusted. Because, much is similar to, like trying a new restaurant or mm-hmm. Or going to a new store. There's always a little bit level of distrust when there is no proof, mm-hmm. right? When you are not sure if you trust something right? Like sometimes we almost find it terrifying to try a new restaurant that has no Google reviews.
Oh wow, yeah.
Right. So
I just did an Airbnb and it's down this way on that,
Airbnb as well, right? Mm-hmm. I think every time we go look for a place to stay or a place to eat at, what are we normally picking for? We're picking for something with a lot of ratings mm-hmm. and a high amount of stars, right? Mm-hmm. But most people don't start off that way. Most people, pretty much everybody has to start from zero. So you have to find ways. So in a sense, we also consider ourselves kind of like entrepreneurs as well. In the sense, we're starting from zero and we're trying to prove that we are good at doing our job.
So effectively, you're building a case study base, so the people that have a substantial amount of money in the money world will trust that they can provide their cash to you to put it into a stable investment or a trusted investment. So you're using your own money to build up that referral case study bridge.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to add though is I think by nature, venture capital is the most risky thing you can generally put your money into. So stable investment, I don't know if I'll call it as stable when compared to real estate per se, but it's got a higher sort of band in the sense that you can either do, You cannot. Most of the time, you can either do very well or very poorly.
Oh, wow. There's no in the middle?
That's kind of like the strategy we're trying to pursue. So in a sense, that's kind of where we're trying to be disruptive. Is in a sense that we want to have less extremes, and we want to have more kind of like moderately successful.
Wow.
So within a niche, we are kind of creating a niche at the same time.
I love that niche place, because what you're saying now then is that your approach, would it mean that it becomes you're opening up to more of the lending market into the SME world, but also it's a harder place to prove because it's unproven right now?
Yeah, so that's kind of where I didn't get a chance to explain to you earlier, but the majority of investors trade money for shares. So we're going on an approach where we're doing a half and half, where we're both doing debt and trading money for shares at the same time, right? Which means that, okay, the money starts as very flexible debt, much better terms than a bank loan.
Yeah.
And the more of the debt that the founder pays, the more shares they're buying back.
Oh,
and
wow,
so this
I
is
get
like
that now.
So it's an approach that has been pioneered in the US, but it's never been pioneered in
Wow,
Europe.
I love that. What is the average investment then, in a sense of a monetary number? Is that something you can share in the sense of, well, our average investment is what, 100,000, 50,000, 10,000, or does it just go across the whole range? So if I'm an SME business owner and I need investment, is there a limit as to where I could come to you for, a low limit, a high limit? How does that work?
Right now it's just £20,000. We're trying to be sensible with like how much money we hand out, because I think much like a typical entrepreneur, an investor also has to balance his or her budgets as well.
Wow.
So there also within a total amount of pool of capital, there also has to be consideration of like, all right, here's the money available to invest.
Yeah.
Here's how much money that I have to use to pay lawyers for different things. Here's how much money I have to use to pay for travel, because for better or for worse, travel is a very essential part of doing investing activities. And then there's a little bit of money that I like to call cover your ass money, which means that like every smart budgeter or anybody that's running any kind of organization has a pot of money they use to cover their ass.
Yeah.
And if you don't have cover your ass money, it essentially proves that you're a bit reckless and you don't consider sort of like the contingencies of life that may happen.
Do you think there are shortfalls now? Because, I come from Wales, and that is one of the most, they say Wales is one of the, I'm going to say, common places for small SME businesses.
Yep.
But I also believe that the UK is thriving in that SME world. But you also feel there is a break in the bridge of available funds, even though I'm going to say that Welsh government stands itself very proud in saying we have these startup opportunities and there's light funding there. But when it comes to serious funding, where 1 in 20k is a startup business, do you think there's a fracture in that opportunity for the SME world?
Well, I think certainly there's a lot more hesitance to get into the early stage. I think partly because, one, we live in the continent of Europe, and this is the country of Britain, which means that there's naturally a little bit more conservatism towards like lack of proof than a little bit more risk taking places like the US. The second thing is when you add on to that, some people may know, or a lot of people may know that the economy is facing a sort of like bit of a downturn. And in a downturn, that means people are becoming even more conservative with their money and like where they put it into, right? So if you combine a naturally conservative culture with like a sort of like, oh, it's a bad economy, so that means that I'm going to take my conservative approach even more conservative.
Okay.
Then by nature, that means that a lot of it could be both startup investors. It could be what we call limited partners, which are basically the investors for the investors.
Yeah.
Both parties are tending to try to be a little bit more sort of like, I want to hold on to my cash. I want to be careful, which is understandable given human nature. But also that means that there's less capital going into early stage innovation.
But would it be safe to say, though, that the nature of money means, even though we are using the word conservative here, the very nature of money has to flow. if it doesn't, it becomes stagnant, like stagnant water,
Yep.
and it loses its value if it doesn't flow and doesn't keep, going through the emotional economy and we could say the money economy. It has to flow through both. So even though we use those words like being conservative, can we say that actually they're camouflage words because money is still flowing, money is still available. We just have to maybe for the first time have a more just reason to have money that doesn't belong to us as a business and how we use it intentionally rather than unintentionally. So be more conscious
Yeah.
of our money now.
I don't know how people are using their money nowadays, to be honest. I mean, it's easy to talk about where people are not putting their money. I mean, I'm sure people are putting their money into other things, right? Like you could put it, if you're talking pure investments, you could put it into a cash bond, you could put it into an ETF, you could buy more real estate. There's a very, in East Asian culture, people, wealthy individuals love real estate.
Yeah.
Or there are people just not spending as much. People are like, trying to save more.
So it's still there, it's still cycling, it's just we could say there are other avenues that have been added to where money goes, where it maybe historically have gone before COVID and all those things kind of put pressure on the country financially.
Pretty much, yeah. I think just people are being more watchful, and people kind of like thinking a little bit in terms of like, how do I not lose money instead of like, how do I get a lot of money?
I love this, and truthfully, this is kind of out of my radar, but I've loved this conversation.
Of course.
And let me ask you about you. So you're here today, Chrissy Khan's network wealth with the elite. How have you found that? Have you found it is an experience you feel has added value to your day, to your business?
I think it's cool. I think in terms of value, I usually like to use a wait and see approach because like there's always, linear is never like a straightforward line, right?
Oh, wow.
Sometimes like people will add value to you 6-7 months from now, but like in the beginning you kind of just start off as friends. Some people add value to you immediately. Some people you don't connect at the event, but you connect at another spot later on.
It's been a good event for
Right.
you though, eh?
And so yeah, there's great people so far. I think some of the people I've met before in Birmingham. So looking forward to catching up with them some more.
Jonathan, son, this has been beautiful. Thank you so much. Give me a couple of minutes of your time there just to kind of get, push out, money is different for everybody. And it does. We put an importance on money basically from the first 10 years of our life until we actually look out and sort of focus on our own money alignment. But here's the thing in the business world, it's fantastic to know that we do have those in-betweeners. We do have those people like Jonathan that are saying, do you know what, let's broaden the horizon for those that are looking for, a 20k investment. Let's look at how we can help that community within the SME world. And for that, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, it's been beautiful. Happy days.
Happy days.